Hi, this is Peter. In this video I will show you the game between John Oldman and Frederick Kotov. This game was played on Eastern Island in 1873. Eastern Island is the most isolated place in the world. It's located on the Pacific Ocean south of the Haiti, or in that region, as they say. In this game, John Oldman had white pieces, but because this game lasts about 100 moves, I will not show you the first stages. As you can see, all the pieces are on the board right now, so that means that basically nothing happened, nothing interesting happened in the opening phase, or as I like to call it, in the piece maneuvering phase. And also the fireworks that start now last 30 moves. So if I showed you the whole game, I was afraid that you would all fall asleep, and in order not to risk this, I decided to only show you the fragment. Okay, so in this position it is white to move, it is John Oldman to move, and John Oldman found a winning combination. But if you don't find a winning combination, don't be sad, because it takes about 30 moves. Okay, the first move that white played is bishop to d2. You can see that bishop is coming to h6, and the only move is knight to e8. If rook goes somewhere to the queen side, then immediately white has an advantage. Probably h5, or still bishop to h6 would be played. And Kotov knows that he shouldn't create this imbalance by moving the rook away from defending the king, so essentially the only move, the best move that Frederick Kotov played in this position is knight to e8. Bishop to h6, the only move, knight to g7. Now bishop to a4. And this is the critical position from black's point of view. What would you play to defend as black in this position? Again, if you don't guess the move, don't be sad, because this takes 30 moves, what John Oldman created, the magic that he created here. Okay, black played a5, and this is a blunder, believe it or not. Better move is counterintuitive knight to b8, and yes, this would hand advantage to white. I will show you this line at the end, but this would be the best try. a5 is a blunder. Any kind of waiting move, basically not moving the knight, is a blunder here, because of the forced combination that John Oldman had in mind when he played bishop to a4. Well, actually this was also the important part, because knight is not on f6, knight is on g7, so knight is not defending the other knight. Perhaps it will unravel very soon what the plan is. Bishop takes on d7 from Oldman. Kotov played the only move, queen takes on d7, and now this is the only move because knight is not on f6, otherwise knight would take the bishop. And the problem now is that nothing is defending f6 square, so queen to f6 is coming. But if queen to f6 comes now, then knight to e8, and if queen to g5, then f6 gives advantage to black. So perhaps queen would have to be played back to f3, but then knight to g7, and we have a repetition. So instead, John Oldman already knew what to play here, and he played the stunning move, the brilliant move, knight to h5, opening the king, and after g takes on h5, now he played queen to f6. Still, Kotov continued with knight to e8, kicking the queen, But now queen to g5 is check, so there's no time to play f6. King to h8 from Kotov. Now bishop takes on f8, simple chess. And Kotov continued with the best defensive move, h takes on g4. If instead queen takes on g4, then queen to e7 would bring immediate advantage to white. Perhaps this would actually be winning. So we have h takes on g4, and Oldman continued with another brilliant move. Instead of playing bishop to h6, which would be a casual move, he played rook d to f1, knowing that after Kotov plays f6, and this what happened in the game, he can play bishop to h6, because black of course can't take the queen. It's not a good idea because of checkmate. So Kotov played queen to f7, and now queen is coming to g6, forcing the queen trade, or at least kicking the queen back, because the queen trade would only benefit black. So it seems that queen takes on g4 is not the best idea. White should play h5 here to stop queen from coming to g6. But John Oldman already saw in his mind's eye the continuation, and he played queen takes on g4. Queen to g6 from Kotov. So black wants to trade the queens, obviously he's under a lot of pressure. But John Oldman played another brilliant move, bishop to g5. It's not a good idea to take the bishop, is it? So in this very difficult position, white is threatening queen to e6. So Kotov played bishop to c8, essentially the only move to stop this. Oldman played queen to f3, so queen is defending the pawn on e4. And now Kotov had a very good plan to move the king to the queen side, and he would be okay then. King to g8, but the problem is that John Oldman played another brilliant move in this position, involving last piece in the attack. Knight to g3 was played. If in this position king goes to g7, then knight to g3 is very strong, is a lot stronger. If king goes to g8, then knight to g3 is not as strong, but it's still the best move on the board. And now the problem is that knight is coming to h5, and this is not the only problem, but the most persisting problem now is that knight is coming to h5. So in order to stop this, Kotov played the only move, the best move to stop knight to h5. I will not show you this line for simplicity's sake, but Kotov played bishop to h6, and this actually makes knight to h5 not very strong here. It is still possible to play knight to h5, but this wouldn't be as strong because of bishop takes on f1. Unfortunately, John Oldman played another brilliant move in this position. He played knight to f5. This is the problem. Bishop to a6 defends against knight to h5, but it vacates the square. It drops the control of f5 square, so knight can access it. Of course this sacrifices the rook, but the king is more important than the rook. And this sent the king back. Kotov played king to h8. Now rook to e1, which is very interesting, kind of a waiting move, because rook has of course no future on the closed file. Knight to g7. This position is very difficult to defend. If queen goes to f7, then knight to h6, and after queen to f8, white would be a lot better. What else? perhaps bishop to c8 comes to mind, but then knight to h6, and again very strong advantage for white. Also h5 would be coming along some lines. So in this very difficult position, Kotov decided to give back the pawn, but in return he will gain a coordination, because after knight to e7, queen to e7, bishop takes on f6, rook to f8 has been played. And as you can see, as far as the material goes and as far as coordination goes, black is actually holding very well and defending very well under the circumstances. But the problem is again that John Oldman played another brilliant move. He played rook e to f1. So rook is going back to sacrifice herself, but another rook is going to f1. Rook takes on f1. Now queen to e8. And the winning move is a3. And this is not a joke. If h5 in this position, then perhaps queen takes knight would be the best try for black. So Oldman played another brilliant move. But it's hard to believe that this is the brilliant move. a3. And now queen takes knight is not a very good idea now. So rook to f7 has been played by Kotov. Knight to c6, h6, knight to d8. Knight is way too strong, so queen has to take the knight. Bishop takes queen, rook takes queen, rook takes on f3, knight to h5. So Kotov is not resigning, he allowed white to crush him. Rook to f7, king to g8, rook takes on c7, knight to g3, rook to b7, knight takes on e4, bishop takes on b6, bishop takes on b6, rook takes on b6, and in this position Frederick Kotov resigned. Impossible attack, isn't it? Okay, so there's no defense for black. It's well justified that he resigned. White is going to gobble up the pawn on a file, and then he's going to promote. He's not even going to care about... I didn't count this, but perhaps this is way too slow to take the pawn. Then so knight would have to take this pawn, then it would have to move away, and then this pawn would march to promotion, but this would perhaps be too slow, and this pawn would be faster. So white is easily winning in this position. Epic attack from Oldman. And as promised, the line. So in this position, so we have this maneuver, but this is all forced. But in this position, after bishop to a4, Frederick Kotov should have played knight to b8, and this gives advantage to white. The line would go bishop to g5, f6, so bishop created some chaos on the king side, bishop to d2, random move, and then h5. Very strong attack and advantage to white, but perhaps this would be better than the move played in the game, which was a5 and allowing bishop takes on d7. And that is all. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next ones. Thanks for watching. Bye.